Okay, it's 6 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Jason Deerdorf. I'm the investigations captain at Speedway Police Department. I know many of you on here are probably familiar with me or Captain Alexander, who is in charge of our operations division, or our what you would probably better known as our patrol division, the guys in uniform out working the street. So it's a little different format than we're used to for these neighborhood watch meetings. Obviously, we haven't had one of these meetings for about a year now because of COVID. We are doing this one virtually only, but we have plans to hopefully return to in-person meetings in June. Similar to the format that we had started in 2019, where we'll have a quarterly meeting in I'm trying to remember March, June, September, and December. So look for those dates in the near future. We'll probably hold all of those here at our new Speedway Municipal building here at 5300 Crawfordsville Road. Obviously, this virtual format works great for us because I think we've got 37 participants online right now, which is probably about 3 times what we typically have at one of our in-person meetings. So hopefully we'll all get to see all your smiling faces in the future when we start doing these virtually. Plus we may also add some ability for people to still get on virtually or Facebook Live or something to that effect when we do these in the future. As we had advertised, we're just going to go ahead and kind of start this meeting out with our friends from Brixmore Property Group, the owner of the Speedway Super Center. We'll give them some time to talk and obviously try to answer any questions if there are any from community members. Obviously, we want to moderate that a little bit to where not too many people are talking at once because it's difficult sometimes in these scenarios to do so. But we'll try to deal with that the best we can. Obviously, we want to say up front that we have a partnership with Brixmore. We work very well together. Obviously, there's been some incidents that have occurred here in the past couple of months at their property here in Speedway. All of those were basically just victim of circumstance because their location happened to be the place that was chosen for some of these incidents that we had, unfortunately. I know they've done a lot in the past couple of years just to try to do things with that facility. They've made some investments. I think they have some future investments in mind for that property. They've also invested some money into additional security there and have other companies on board that oversee that process on a daily basis. So I'm going to kind of turn it over. Jim, I see your name at the top of my screen. I'm going to let Jim Childress talk first, and he can kind of introduce everybody else that's on here. And then, like I said, we'll give those guys an opportunity to kind of tell you about themselves and that particular property. And then we'll go from there. Jim?
Well, thanks, Jason. Hello, everybody. It's good to be here.
I think you're muted.
As you may or may not know, I'm the property.
Jim, I think you're muted.
Oh, okay.
We can hear him, Jason.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Okay.
Anyway, getting back to it, I'm the property manager at it's
David, can you jump in? I think Jim's muted.
Everyone could hear Jim.
Well, anyway, I'll continue. I'm sure they'll be able to join here shortly, but I'm the property manager at Speedway Shopping Center, and I work for the Brixmore Property Group, which is the owner of the shopping center. And I just first say that it's a pleasure to be here. And one of your goals as a property manager is to really, you all know that myself, the company I work for, are very sincere about being good partners. I've been doing this a long time, and I just want to make sure that we're good partners with the community, and this seemed like a perfect format for us to get to know each other. And so I just kind of want to set the record straight. We want to do the right thing. A little bit about Brixmor. We are a real estate investment trust that owns over 400 open air shopping centers throughout the country. I guess primarily in the Midwest, some in the East, as well as down in the Florida area, and as well as the West Coast. Speedway Supercenter is one of the biggest shopping centers we have in our portfolio. And it's one that, quite frankly, we really take a lot of pride in, and we have the radar on that property. And I've had the privilege and the pleasure of talking to a few of you, and I see Heather there. Hello, Heather. How are you? And I think Frank, I saw he. Yeah, how you doing? Just want to let you know that we, again, as a company, we want to be a part of your team. We want to be a part of the community. And that's the reason why we're here. And I think, the Neighborhood Watch organization is a perfect conduit for us to do that, because working close with the police that we do, and the fact that they're resuming their monthly meetings is also a chance that, somebody like myself can not only hear what they have to say, but also hear what you have to say. I've invited today other members of our company, as well as a gentleman that works very closely with us with the police, as well as our other security departments within the company. We have Beth Isla, who is our director of operations, and Joe White. I don't think you can see him, but he's our vice president of operations. And I wanted them to be here. Oh, and excuse me. We also have David Alicorn, who is works with Muni Support. He is a security consultant that not only works closely with Jason and myself with the Speedway Police Department, but he also helps us with other properties throughout the country. So I've asked them to come with us because I think it's important, that they hear what you have to say, and as well as myself. And again, we want to be open. We want to be upfront. We want to do the right thing. And so that's in a nutshell a little bit about why we're here, who we are, and the spirit of how we like to move forward with the community.
I could jump in real quick. It's our apologies. You were never muted, Jim. It was us that was muted. So you can hear us, but we couldn't hear.
Well, there's some people that wish I was muted probably sometimes. But.
And just a reminder, if anybody that is on here, we're up to 55 participants so far. Just make sure that you stay muted until you unmute yourself to speak. I know we had a barking dog in the background. I think that's been cleared up a little bit. So just for everybody else's sake, just stay muted unless you're speaking. Jim, does anybody else from your group want to talk?
I think everybody is just here to be good listeners. And, I like to think of myself as kind of the spokesman for the property, since I'm the manager. And, if anybody wants to join, they'll pipe right in. But so we're here and looking forward to a good conversation.
Hey guys, I know it's going to be difficult. Let's try this first. Is there somebody that wants to start out if they have questions for the folks from Brixmor?
To ask a question.
Brian, go ahead.
Have you guys ever shopped there at the shopping center? Any of you guys that work at Brixmor, have you actually shopped there?
Yes, I have. I have. One of the things, when I'm on the road a lot, there's a lot of times I need some things. And in fact, it was just the other day at Burlington. It was raining outside. I was there last Thursday. Had to go in there, umbrella. And other there, when the Sears outlet was there, I went in because I have a workshop and I like to work there. Yes, to answer your question, I try to make it a other properties.
Okay, if you could see one thing that you could change personally in that shopping center, what would it be? You personally, that you could change?
You know, I don't know. I'm getting. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine.
Yeah, I don't know if it'd be just one thing, because I'd like to do a lot of things. And I think in looking at Speedway, it's an older shopping center. It's, I think it was built probably back in the 70s, maybe even longer. And I think that, gosh, I'd like to see us continue what we did on the east side of the shopping center in terms of, bringing it to be a little bit more contemporary looking. I love landscaping. It's kind of my thing. It's my hobby. I'd like to introduce a lot more landscaping to the property and make some key focal point areas. But my gosh, we got enough islands and long linear islands that would lend itself. And we've learned over the years that, people like a shopping center to really look pretty. And, flowers are one great way to do that. I think that, that coupled with, we were always looking to, bring in new and exciting tenants to the shopping center, but make it a real, I think the goal would be to really make Speedway the community gathering place. Make it the focal point of the community. Make it so that, I think such as what Heather mentioned to me one time, we got that Speedway, the Indy 500 there. A lot of people come in there throughout the year. I think we'd like to make sure that it shows well for them. And it's a showcase and a place that, people could be proud to go there. I also have heard that, there's a lot of, a lot of kids in the area that maybe we could bring in some more kid activities, events, more community-oriented events. So, I think it's not just one thing, Brian, it's a bunch of things. And it's very similar to what I've done at other properties.
Okay, so what do we have to do to make that happen?
I'm sorry, what was that?
What do we have to do to make all that happen?
I think we're going in that direction because I can tell you I've worked for 9 different companies over the years, and I know that Brixmor has a very robust agenda in terms of upgrading the properties, making sure that we bring in the right vendors, making sure that we do the right things to the property to showcase it. So it's not just one thing, it's a lot of things that we have to do. And I think the fact that, a good first step is the fact that we have people that I work for that are very in tune to what I am saying based on what you're saying, as evidenced by the fact that they're here on the call tonight. And we have, I'm fortunate. I work with a company that meets regularly, particularly from a leasing standpoint, that requires our participation and our input. So, we have a good conduit. We can exchange ideas based on what we hear from you in the community. So again, it's not just one thing, it's a lot of things. And, like any shopping center, takes a while. But I will tell you, we're very committed to doing that. I mean, it's over a 500,000 square foot shopping center. It's the biggest retail development in the community. It's part of your fabric of your lives. We know that. And because of that, we want to do the right thing. And we want to, make those upgrades. And, at the same time, listen to you all. So,
Jim, we're going to move to Michelle Whitey, who's on here. She's got 2 questions that she wants to ask.
Hi, Michelle.
Good evening. Thank you for taking the time to be with us this evening.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
2 real quick questions. I know that about 3 years ago, y'all were meeting regularly with the Speedway Town Council regarding your plans to develop the Speedway Shopping Center area. So it's been 3 years. You've had plans. it was a pretty robust plans from what I remember. Some great entertainment, some movie theater, great things that all the community I think would desire and benefit from. So I'm curious if those plans and ideas are still on the table, or if your vision is completely different at this point and you're starting from scratch.
I can't say we're really starting from scratch. And I really can't speak to that particular plan because quite frankly, I wasn't a part of Speedway then. But I can tell you that one thing that's been very consistent is our goal to make it a really neat shopping center. And, things change, as with all businesses. I mean, last year with COVID was a good example. I mean, all of a sudden, things that we wanted to do last year kind of got put on hold. But I think, Michelle, overall, would like to, maybe some of the players are different. Some of the tenants are different that we want to bring in. But I think that we're open to a lot of ideas and suggestions to make it good. Again, I go back to what I mentioned to Brian. We want it to be a show, we want the shopping center to show very well. We want it to be eventually have a nice facelift. What exactly those plans are yet, I don't know. We've got a lot of them that we look at. A lot of them we discuss, and plans change because there's times there's new tenants that give us a call, and next thing you know, they're interested and they require a few things. But the one thing that hasn't changed is we want to make sure that it's a very nice shopping center.
I appreciate that. I appreciate your investment and your interest and understanding that it is a very important spoke of our town.
Yes, it is. I know. I can tell.
And to that, a thorn that's in a lot of people's crawl, so to speak, is the Kroger shopping center. About 2, maybe it was 3 years ago, part of the same discussion. We thought that we were going to get stripe or arrows on the Kroger parking lot for ease of lane, like directional. This is this lane. This is this lane. And I wasn't sure if that was a Brixmore thing or a Kroger thing because it hasn't happened.
That's a real good point. When I first got there a couple of years ago, I think I caught wind of some of that. And I don't have an answer for you right now, but I will be more than happy to follow up on it. And you know what? Having been there now and seeing how the traffic flow is, and I have a lot better understanding of it, I think that's something that we could certainly look into. I know exactly what you're saying. And it's, if you stand out there, it may be something we want to do. So thank you very much. I'm going to write that down.
Sorry, this is Councilor McCormick. Mr. Paul.
Hold up, guys. Hold up. There's too many people talking.
Sorry, as Councilor McCormick, I was just asking Mr. Paulson to mute. I think that's where the feedback was coming from.
Yeah, Brian, we're getting a lot of feedback from your cell phone. We can't understand anything you're saying. Okay, Michelle, did that answer your question?
Yeah, I'm sorry was that okay? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and we'll, Jim, if there's specific questions like that you plan on getting an answer to, we're more than happy to share that on our social media.
Yeah, and
or specifically to the people that are asking those questions, and then they can disperse that to whoever.
Yeah, and one thing I want to say before this goes on, before I forget is, and I've emailed a lot of you, I'd like to give you my cell phone number if you'd like to jot it down. That phone kind of just stays with me 24/7, whether I'm in bed or on the rare occasion when I can play golf, it's always there. So, and I do my best to answer it. And if I don't, I get back to you before day's end. And my number is 513-207-7892. And I mean it, please call me. If you have any specifics, or if you don't want to say it in a group setting or something, that's fine too. But I really do try to respond, and that's the one thing that I pride myself on is I try to get back to people and I try to be very upfront. So
Yeah, and Jim, I just shared that in the chat portion of this.
Okay,
as well,
great.
if everybody couldn't copy that. I'm going to move on to, we've got a couple of questions. They look like they're very similar about traffic flow within the shopping center. One of our participants has asked, can you comment on options, if any, for traffic flow, maybe the stoplight by MCL? And then as a second part to that, the traffic flow pattern out of the west part of the shopping center is difficult. Trying to turn left on the main road, which I think they're referring to Parkwood Drive, to get to the light, for example, or turn left to go towards MCL for another. Are there any plans to improve the traffic flow?
Well, first of all, I know exactly what you're saying. Been there, stood there, watched it. It's a mess. You know, you drive through there and try to make a left turn out there in Crawfordsville one way, and then the MCL. You're absolutely right. And I guess, you know, back in the days when I built the shopping center, maybe certain things, traffic wasn't as bad, whatever. But I think, you know, I think what I would propose, and we've done this at other properties, you know, there are people that we can, you know, contact that are experts in traffic flow. And, you know, they can stand out there with you, and they're in the business of trying to improve the traffic flow, as opposed to me trying to figure it out on a site plan. But I think that's certainly warranted. I agree with what the people are saying. I've been there. I saw it last week. And so there's, you know, no set plan right now. But, you know, now that we've talked about it, I think certainly worth, you know, raising it up the flagpole, so to speak. And I think that would help. And I know this is also something that has been, you know, observed by our senior management team. And it doesn't take much to see what we're talking about. So in a nutshell, yes, we will, you know, we'll look into that.
Well, I'm going to jump in here. So nice to meet you, Jim.
Yeah, it was nice to meet you, Heather.
Person, kind of.
Right.
While I have some of the extra Brixmor people on here, I just wanted to reiterate a couple things that you and I have discussed. Also, to the Brixmor other people, Jim is fabulous. We absolutely love him. He's very nice, very kind, and good at what he does. So praise to him. I just wanted to reiterate that the people in Speedway, we want to shop in Speedway. But a lot of us are going to Avon, going to Brownsburg, going to Plainfield, 20, 30 minutes away, when anywhere in Speedway, we could get to the shopping center within 5 minutes. We want that convenience. We are ready to shop and spend our money and do whatever we need to get you guys to improve, facelift, get the kind of stores that, you know, we're looking for, kind of like the ones that are in Avon and Plainfield. If you guys, you know, I don't know if you guys own any property out there, but something similar to the quality of stores out there. And I just wanted to also reiterate that we have the Founders Square coming in, and all that's going to be new and exciting and fresh. And a lot of the business in Speedway is going to go that way. And we want you guys to, you know, get going so we can keep our business over here in the shopping center like we have for years. But we just don't feel comfortable doing that. It's kind of scary over there. I don't like to take my kids. When I go shopping, I'll do it completely by myself. And like I said, a lot of people don't even go to Kroger because it's scary. It's a little rough in there. And so I'll drive 20, 30 minutes to go get my groceries and pack my stuff in coolers and bring it home. So we're really excited and hopeful with these conversations that we're having with you to get going and getting the facelift so we can shop conveniently at our Speedway shopping center, especially with the movie theater and such. I told you earlier, I have 4 kids and I'm an 80s baby, and I hung out there. I hung out at the movie theater, at the pet shop, all that stuff. My mom would drop me off and I would just hang out for hours at the shopping center, but I would never do that with any of my kids. And I have a high schooler.
Yeah.
But we want that back. And the sad part is the benches that are there, the trash cans that are there, a lot of that stuff, the siding, it's all the same from when I went there. Not even touched up with paint. It's all just, you know,
Heather,
things in the 80s need some help, you know? I got my face cream, we need some paint.
Heather, when it comes to the amenity, you just mentioned the trash cans and the, the benches. Oh boy, you're right. I mean, they're just in rugged shape. And that is something that we, I think over the years have tried to, paint them and all that. But no, you're absolutely right. We're looking into getting new, more, just newer stuff there. It's old, and without a doubt. And our management team knows about it. We were just there last Thursday. Took a long walk through the property in the rain and noticed those things. And and I'm assuming a lot of people know that were part of the list of stores that you get, that you sent in. I had looked at that list, and those that are on this call were shared. That list has been shared with them. And what it's encouraging to me is that, again, I was able to send that directly to our vice president of leasing, because that's the kind of feedback they want, as well as we have a leasing person that's just totally responsible for that center. And we have a very engaged leasing department and vice president of leasing. And they look for that type of information. So your comments are timely. And I forwarded those on, a couple of weeks ago when you mentioned it. Not only that, but the activities. So I think, we want to bring in some good quality national retailers, the kind that you want to shop at, that the community wants to shop at, and that, bring the kind of business, it's a win-win for everybody if it's the right retailer. And we want to bring in the good retailers. And, I think we've got a very seasoned, experienced leasing crew that and I say that because I've been with a lot of companies that, they don't necessarily have that. They may just have these people just starting out. This is a seasoned crew that I work with that have a lot of years under their belt, that have a lot of contacts, that and can really tell the story about Speedway and what it means to the community. But that's part of why I'm part of this, because I need to make sure they know that as well, and how important it is. But that's our goal, is exactly what you want. And thank you very much for sending that. Really taking the time to send all that list, because that's a pretty healthy list. And not only that, but the activities, from identifying the youth activities to the YMCA to the laser tag to the bowling. I think I'm hitting a lot of them, but something that kids would want to do there, and that you'd want to bring your family to. And the other thing about Kroger, I've had the chance, I don't know if you're aware, but they brought in a new manager there. I guess it was about a year ago, and he really took to heart that job. He had been an experienced Kroger manager in other parts of this area, and recognized some of the challenges. And great guy to work with. Kroger's a great company to work with. We partner with them throughout our portfolio. They're very, wanting to make sure that the shelves are stocked, because I think that may have been an issue at one time. So that it looks like a full grocery store. And I think they brought out that camera that's out there just to let people know, hey, we're watching. They've hired some off-duty police and some in-store police. Plus, they're active with, they're partnered with the Speedway police department as well. And we have a good rapport with them. In fact, they're one of our biggest customers in our portfolio, at least in the Midwest region. So I don't know if I'm answering your question, but everything you're saying is kind of what we hear you. We really want to go in that direction.
Well, Speedway, we have a great town. And if you want input, we can give you input.
I have no doubt.
We got info to you. I wanted to ask you one last question. So there's a rumor going around that Brixmor doesn't actively seek people to come into their buildings because it's a tax write-off. So keeping the buildings empty is more profitable than getting a store in.
I could tell you, and I can tell you unequivocally and sincerely, without a doubt, that is false. So we're in the business of filling up shopping centers. That's what we do. It's not to have, we're not, in the business to flip shopping centers to, there's some, I guess, developers out there, that'll buy a shopping center, keep it vacant so they can sell it. That's not what we do. If you look at our website and our, just how big we are and our commitment to the shopping center industry, that's not what we do. We do just the opposite. We want to elevate the shopping center. And that was one of the things that really turned me on about this company when I started 3 or 4 years ago. They want to they like fresh ideas, and they want to, new, people to come in like myself who have, new thoughts, new ideas, and look at it and see what we can do better. But no, we are not in the business to keep things vacant. And I promise you that. So.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Heather.
And we're going to circle back around to F. Merritt. Do you still have a question?
Yeah. Jim, thank you for responding to my email and conversing with me. And I appreciate what Brixmor has done over the last couple of years. There are shopping centers around the greater Indianapolis area that are dying a slow death, and to see improvements in this retail age and in a COVID age is good news. So it's something to be excited about. Obviously, we're a little bit of an anomaly, being an incorporated town within the greater city of Indianapolis. We have our own police and fire, and we're very engaged as a community, as you can tell from the outpour of attendees on this call. One of the things I wanted to point out, someone else had pointed out, years ago, Marsh went out of business on the south side of Crawfordsville Road. We have approximately 7 apartment complexes south of Crawfordsville Road, south of your shopping center. And a lot of the people in those units walk across Cunningham and Crawfordsville to get to the shopping center, whether it be for Kroger or the bus route that goes through the shopping center. So the egress, the transportation portion of that shopping center is a challenge for our walking community. We don't have school buses in our community. Our kids can walk to school. We're lucky to have some other transportation modes within our community, but to have sidewalks and bike lanes and bike parking and all those things would enhance the overall aspect of the shopping center. And that's one of the things that I'm trying to encourage for our new development, is that our people need to be able to walk and bike to your facility to enjoy it. When you talk about hanging out, I talked to a couple of your store owners within there as far as getting sponsorships for our bike club. I've got one that's ready to sign, and it's difficult for me to take a family of bicyclists into the shopping center, whether it be coming from our parks from the north or our parks from the south or our main street. It's a difficult challenge. Years ago, I worked with Kroger to have them install a bike rack because we had participants that wanted to bike and grocery shop. I would love to see other stores in that facility, Brixmor in general, take on a little bit of that leadership on behalf of our walkable, pedestrian-friendly, bike-friendly aspect that we're pursuing. We've invested almost $12 million in trails on the near west in the last recent years, and we'll be connecting Hendricks County all the way to downtown. And that's going to influx people in Wayne Township west of us into our community, pushing more people potentially to the shopping center. So there's a whole lot going on in our community as far as connectivity to downtown, connectivity to the west, a north-south Greenway corridor that I want you guys to be aware of as we bring it into our community, so that you guys can be a part of it and not left out looking in.
You know what, Frank? I think that's a great, when you mentioned that in your email a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to Beth and Joe about it. I think that's great. That's something that, honestly, I mean, I live in little Dayton, Ohio. We've got bike trails that go here and there, and they kind of lead up to, there's one place called Austin Landing. I think that's really cool stuff, where you can somehow connect it to the, to the shopping center, make a little hub out of it, and then get the tenants involved. I'd love to meet with you more about that and get your thoughts on what you think would be a good idea. You probably know more about that than I do, what may work, but I'd love to, I'd love to walk the property with you and see, get your thoughts and anybody else's thoughts on that so that I could share it, because I think that's great. It just adds to the, kind of the community, this is our place, this is our gathering place. And I'm all in on that. So
Thank you. I'll definitely follow up with you on that.
yeah,
One
let's
last
try to
question.
meet on that. Yeah, because I'd like to, I think that's
You
great.
mentioned some projects, whether it be paint or benches and landscaping. Do you have a budget to make that happen?
I've got a budget to make that happen, but like anything else, I wish I could do more every year. I really do. It's like anything else, we got budgets, whether it's our home life, but same way with the business. But I've got money to work with, and it's I think what we like to try to do is step by step, and kind of go from there. But yeah, I mean, I would say that the things we just mentioned are certainly things we can start addressing quickly.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Mr. Merritt. We're going to move on to Mike asks, what about just keeping the grounds clean? And I know, Jim, you've got a local company that handles the day-to-day maintenance. If you want to talk a little bit about that.
I'm glad you brought it up. As you know, Speedway is a big shopping center, and I've been there a lot. I go there a lot during the month, and I know what you're saying, particularly maybe in the afternoons or if it's a windy day. And then you've got the traffic that goes out of Kroger, and then you got some, I've seen the traffic cans overflow and all that. And I will tell you that in all seriousness, the company I work with is really, they challenge us as property managers to really to do a good job of trying to keep the shopping center clean. We have a very robust program. And so that means, and what I've done since I've received some of your emails, obviously, is we have a third-party contractor, and make no mistake about it, I've shared those emails with them. And we have no problem with, we're adjusting our schedules, to see what fits on what day. I'm starting to realize that Speedway, we may need to have more sweeping or pickup, the trash pickup, particularly in the late afternoons, early evenings, not just throughout the day. Other days may be okay. It's kind of a finesse thing. And but no, and we also have the green light that if we have to search for other contractors, we can do so. We're not obligated to anybody. But I think that at least in talking to the contractors we have right now, they're very committed. I mean, they live in the area. They want to see it. They're just as upset when they receive these emails as I am sometimes. It's hard don't like to see it, but I need to see it. And so we're trying to do, improve our standards. And I think we're going to go I guarantee you we'll go in that direction. It's not a question of if, it's we will. So.
I have a quick question. I'm Kelly Turner. I'm the Director of Communications for the town. So a lot of complaints and feedback that we receive come through my office, and I'm not sure where to direct them. So when we have community who they would like to speak in terms of trash being out and that sort of thing, my only way to get that information is to go through code enforcement, which doesn't get directly back to you. So if you have a suggestion on how
you could do both. I know John Merritt pretty well because you just get to know a guy like that when you're in the shopping center like Speedway, And he's been, he's been pretty real good to work with. And he's told us, he says, look, I think you guys you're doing the right thing. You're going in the right direction, but he's not afraid to tell us stuff. But you can certainly call me too, or email me. In fact, I would love to know. I'd rather know sooner rather than later. And I want you to know too that the emails that you all send me, I copy my bosses. I don't hide behind it. I say, look, this is what we got. And I do that for a reason, so that they, I like to be transparent. I like to let them know that, hey, we may need up the ante a little bit in terms of what we're doing in terms of cleaning or whatever it is. And, but no, please feel free to call me as well as go through the code enforcement. And if you need my email, Jason, I don't know if they have my email address either. But
I can share that up here as well,
Yeah,
if you don't mind me doing that.
no, it's james.childress@brixmore.com.
Yeah, I'll get that up here in just a moment, unless Kelly beats me to it. Let's move on to, just got a comment here from one of our participants, and this is a good point. There's a food desert between Speedway and the downtown currently. A grocery store needs to open up farther east on 16th Street or 10th Street to take some of the load off of our Kroger. And I know that's a concern that's come up to us in the past because there's limited resources as far as grocers here locally. Obviously, that's going to change a little bit with Founders Square and the new Aldi store going in there. And then I think that also created some of the issues potentially at the Kroger store in your shopping center when the store closed up on 38th Street, in addition to the Marsh store closing here in town.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, I know Kroger is very aware of it, and I know that internally they're, and I should invite them to this meeting as well. Now that I think about it, I think they're the kind of group that would like to address these on their own, these concerns about their store, but they're very upfront. But I think that they're very aware of the situation and are trying to make adjustments and, do the right thing. I know that, as far as, with the one store closing, it certainly did impact the Kroger at Speedway. But they're, again, are aware of it. And I think, again, they're trying to make some adjustments. And, I'm sorry, I don't really have more of a particular definitive answer on that, but I would feel like I should let Kroger respond to that, but I can certainly make sure that they're aware of that concern and, have them, respond to you all. But I know Kroger's committed they're very committed to that store. They really are. So.
Okay, moving on, I think you covered about funds that might be available, but one of our other participants asks if you've got a specific timeline or if you've considered that internally of, when you may anticipate some of these changes about sprucing the place up.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a step-by-step process. I honestly I really wish we could just all do it this year. I'd like to put a stamp on this shopping center and say, hey, this is what we did for you all. But it doesn't always work that way. And I think I don't have a timeline at this point, but I think I will say that you'll see progress every year. And there may be a year where there's more progress that I can announce. And I know, Heather, you had mentioned to me about some communication that maybe I could participate in that would announce things that we're doing. Once I get some definitive answers, I'd be more than happy to do that. But at this point, we are, we're committed to upgrading the shopping center similar to what we did on the east side, making it a much more contemporary looking center. But I don't have any specific time frames yet. But this center, truthfully, is under the radar of our company. It's one of our biggest, and we want to do the right thing for it.
The next comment again is from Mr. Merritt. Frank Merritt, he brought up that if you ever considered creating not-for-profit programs. I know the Speedway in this area in general has a lot of not-for-profit groups. Have you ever considered looking to any of them to help clean up and pay those community partners as a community outreach program to help keep your facility.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing because I also manage a shopping center in Cincinnati, and we've had the Boy Scouts. You know, I guess it goes towards their badges or something, or no, not the, I guess maybe it was Cub Scouts. I think it was Boy Scouts. So, and we had a gentleman that works for us that had a real tie into that. And I think it's kind of neat. It's great. I mean, if it can be kind of a, you know, it helps them take pride in the shopping center, it obviously would help us. You know, whether it's a Boy Scouts or not, I can't say, but I'd be open to that. Because if that means that the community is more involved with the shopping center and it's part of their own, hey, I'm all for it. I am absolutely all for it. If they
maybe that's another
anything else,
conversation. Maybe that's another conversation you
Yeah.
and Frank could have after the fact when you talk about the other things that you guys were going to talk about. I think he's involved in the Trails Association and some biking groups and some
Yeah.
other things, and he may
But
be
I
able
think-
to help with some direction on that.
But I think, like, you know, if I'm hearing Frank, it's like anything else. If you have a stick in it, you keep it more, in this
Hey.
particular case, more clean and upbeat. So,
Next question is, you know, obviously the COVID-19 pandemic has impacted just about everything. How has that impacted the shopping center? For example, has it been difficult to provide unique or special sanitary measures? Have tenants been able to pay their rents, or is that an issue that you've had to deal with? What do you expect the next 12 months to be? What do you expect that outlook to be in the next 12 months?
well, I think as a whole, from what I've learned from my peers, and people are smarter than me, I mean, you know, and you can see it, the COVID certainly had an impact on retail in general. And there are certain segments of retail, components of retail that really got hit hard, a lot harder than us. You know, I'm thinking of regional malls, for example, and a lot of major retailers went, you know, filed for bankruptcy. That just pushed them over the edge. Specifically as it relates to Speedway, our company was very proactive back in the early days around, oh gosh, I guess it was about a year ago about this time, where we worked with our tenants when it came to, you know, assisting them with, you know, rent payments and payment plans. And we understood, you know, what they're going to. I mean, it was not only the right thing to do, but it was, you know, it had to be done. So we worked with them, worked out plans with them, offered them opportunities that maybe we wouldn't normally offer, but we realized the importance of it. And I think because of that, we have not had a whole lot of fallout because of COVID, as some other shopping centers I've seen. Again, I refer to regional malls. It got hit hard, but I think that going forward, you're going to see. I think you're going to see more. I know it seems to me that things are becoming more and more active, and you know, from a leasing standpoint, getting back to where it kind of used to be. Seems to be a lot of retailers doing a lot of tire kicking again, you know, and which is good. So I think we got through it okay, but we really worked hard with our tenants to get us to this place.
Looks like we've got a few other comments, which they're good comments. I'm not going to get too in depth, but it's basically about again the programs that Frank mentioned, and maybe involving Keep Indianapolis Beautiful, trying to focus on some of the Speedway groups. But you know, obviously that's a good idea, and I'll let you guys talk offline about that.
Great ideas.
Time. Next question is, it's been mentioned that Kroger now has a security camera trailer in their lot, yet there's been a couple of violent incidents on the center's property. What else is being done to increase security?
Well, I think a couple of things to answer it directly. We have been very, you know, we work very closely with the police department, and within really the past year, we've taken some strong measures. to enhance the security presence at the shopping center. We've hired third-party security with officers that are seasoned, and we've supplemented that with off-duty police. And what I particularly like about what we've done with, we work very closely with them, but what I particularly like about having these people here is the fact that they live in or around Speedway. And many are the off-duty police officers are either officers of Speedway or work with the Speedway Police Department in municipalities. And it's a seasoned bunch. So we've added the security aspect of it. We've also added security cameras in various parts of the center. And again, in talking to Kroger, we work with them so that, we express some concerns. And again, that's one of the reasons why they brought the camera out. And so we've really tried to upgrade the security component at the shopping center, and we're continually, we're always looking at it, because times change, things happen. And we're very aware of what happened a couple months ago. We're very, very concerned. And, as stakeholders in the community and as neighbors of you all, we understand exactly what you're saying and what you said. You're concerned about that. I think that, the one thing that we have to remember is that, because we're such a big shopping center, a big parking lot, that these incidents that occurred were not necessarily something that occurred because of us so much as it is that, it's kind of a spillover, and it wasn't directed at a store. The unfortunate things that happened after hours. Nobody was really there. But we're very aware of it. We're constantly monitoring it, and I feel very good working with you all at the police department. You've been great. And again, David Alcorn, who's on the call, he is he is our security consultant. He's very involved. He knows the Speedway police officers as well. And David, if you'd like to add anything to that.
Good evening, everyone. Yes, the security is very important. And, there is just not one security method. Plain and simple, we constantly monitor the events that are happening in and around the property. The collaboration efforts with the police department's key to knowing exactly what's happening. And we tailor our security operations to what is happening. So that close collaboration is, I think, the key to success here to deal with just about every issue that can come to that shopping center.
Very committed to it, and very, it's something that we take very, very seriously. So.
Yeah, and I'll have to add to that, and we can get into this after we get done with you, Jim, and your group. But overall, our crime statistics continue to decline. Now, whether that was partly due to COVID in 2020, or it's just the fact that we were on that same trajectory that we've been on for the past decade, but we're still seeing low numbers. Obviously, we had a couple of incidents that were pretty high profile violent crime that occurred there in the shopping center. We feel confident that we have direction on some, if not all, of those incidents that occurred there. But again, as I mentioned kind of in my opening comments, it's it's basically a crime of opportunity, and they ended up on the shopping center property just because it's an easy location for people to meet. Moving on to the next question. Christina is asking, will there be a more deliberate meeting after tonight's conversation, examples of or presentation that shows maybe some of the wants of what the residents would like to see? I think you touched on that, Jim, with telephone calls and email and things like that. But would there be any possible thoughts of having any additional conversations as a group with community members
Sure.
down the road?
Absolutely. absolutely. And, if, I'd also like to extend the invitation, if any of you want to meet me when I'm at the shopping center, I'd be more than happy to meet with you as well. No problem doing that, but no, absolutely.
Robin, I see that you mentioned a couple of issues that you had specifically in the past couple of weeks with your scouts. You encountered some intoxicated individuals. Did you report that to us? Did we come out and look into those individuals at that time?
They happened very quickly and they dissipated quick enough that we did not require additional assistance. But at the end of the day, it's frightening. It definitely was a scary situation. I'm glad my girls were older and able to manage that in the right way.
Yeah, and all I would advise, or we would as a department, is don't ever think, and I think sometimes people don't want to burden us with certain issues that may come through. We're here as a service to you. If there's a problem anywhere that you deal with, I know that may not have been a problem to you at that point anymore, but if the same people were causing problems to you, they were probably causing problems to other people too. And it's it's a very easy thing for us to still patrol that area, put more visibility up there, try to locate the individuals that were causing you problems, and then act accordingly.
Sure. The Kroger manager on duty handled one of the situations just lovely. It was great. And then the other one, honestly, there was just a large relief when we finally got him to move on. And it didn't occur to me to take additional steps after that, and I should have.
Great.
And if I could just add to that, it's important to report incidents like that to the police, because when we start getting the police call rundown for the week, for the month, that's how we adjust our security schedules based on information that we receive of incidents that are happening in the center. So I think it's a very important tool that Brixmor has if things like that are reported to the police department, because we could adjust our security operations based on these incidents that are happening.
Understood. I am no stranger to calling the police line when there are situations in the neighborhood.
We welcome it. Brian comments that bottom line, Brixmor needs to step up security, landscaping, ease of access, and higher quality tenants, which, I think it seems that might be, a lot of those might be the concern with a lot of the individuals on here. Jim, I don't know if you want to add any more comments to that statement.
No, I'm glad you mentioned it. I can tell you sincerely, I will do my best to make sure that we move in the right direction, and I mean that.
Diane kind of reiterates that a bit as well, saying that there are plenty of higher end customers. That I think Heather mentioned this about going to Avon and some of the other area communities, but I think there's some residents in town that feel like maybe you're getting passed by to go to some of these other suburbs of Indianapolis. So yeah, that's her comment. As Kroger continues to grow their click and pull pickup groceries, consider working with them for drive-through lanes on the south side of the building with overhang for rainy days. I think I don't know where specifically you're talking about there, Frank, but it's obviously if it's not a part of the fire lane, but that kind of, I think, goes into that some of those same parking questions and issues that some of the other people, Michelle Lighty and some others, brought up, Jim.
No, feel free to, if anybody wants to show me in detail where we're talking about, I'd be more than happy to look into it and to discuss with Kroger.
Yeah, Frank adds that the space between Kroger and Five Below is where he's talking about. So.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
Drive through for those pickup customers, because
yeah, and that little grassy area.
That's what a lot of stores are going to anymore, it seems like.
No, you're right. There are. Most of them are doing something like that. No, that would be something that we would we'd have to talk to Kroger about and see what their feelings are and all that. But no, I know exactly the area he's talking about.
Does anybody else have any specific questions for Jim or the group? I know we're getting a lot of comments here on the chat, and we appreciate that. I think there's a lot of good information that we're sharing here between both groups. Has anybody got any specific questions that they want to bring up? Obviously, I'd like you to throw those in the chat, but if you want to just unmute, you can do that as well.
I'll chime in real quick. I don't want to dominate, but signage, along with the 1970s look, the sign there on Cunningham Parkwood probably needs adjustment. I mean, I think we need to work with the city of Indianapolis and the town to change that whole drive aspect, but you have a large, big sign there, and I think it could do well to be updated.
No, I understand. There's a lot of parts of this whole building complex that need to be updated, and we're aware of that, and I certainly understand what you're saying on that. And I think we have actually we've had some thoughts and discussions about that. So,
Jim, do you want to throw in there too? I think we had the conversation 2 or 3 weeks ago, and there were some concerned residents about it. There's some damage to that sign, I think. That I'm glad you mentioned that. That I got the call. I think it was about a week or two before Christmas that somebody had hit that pylon, and so we ended up having to get accident reports and go through the motions and get bids and that type of thing to get it repaired. And then, what happened is it got cold and everything else. But the long and short of it is we I think pretty much got our the contractors that were going to repair it, and so we can get rid of that barricade and fix the busted up column that's on the bottom there. And it's a little more involved than I thought it was at first. Fortunately, it's not structurally damaged, but there's a lot of things that have to be done to that. So I think we got the right guy now, and we can start work on it now that the weather's nice and kind of go forward with that. So I'd like to get that fixed as much as anybody.
Jim, I wanted to pipe in one more time. There's a mom's group going on with all the people in the meeting. And I just wanted to bring up that they're feeling unsettled that you aren't able to be specific with when we will get attention. Is there any reassurance we can get that, things are going to get going? I know you can't give us a timeline like, hey, you're going to have a Trader Joe in 3 months, but yeah. Just something that we can be hopeful for and look at and be like, oh, they said they were going to paint this in a month. Great. Everything's painted. Oh, great. They said they were going to fix a sign in June. It's fixed. Great. Something like that.
Well, I can tell you that, last year with the COVID and everything, we didn't really tackle as many things as I would have liked to, for obvious reasons. But this year we have the green light to do a lot of things. And, I hesitate to say, hey, I'm going to have certain things done by certain dates, because if I don't, then I just I have egg on my face, quite honestly. But I do know that, with some of these things that we're talking about, like upgrading some of the landscaping and, working to get these new trash cans and, benches and things of that nature, those are short-term things that, we can move forward on. The big ticket items that you're probably referring to, such as facade refurbishments and new pylons and all that, I can't say it's going to be this year by any means. I would say it's, but I can tell you truthfully, it's on the radar. And I can say that because this is one of the biggest shopping centers we have in our portfolio. And, we wanted to, there's a reason we bought this shopping center. We thought we could really make a difference with it. And that's what we do. And so I don't feel like I'm really answering your question, but I know that, let's put it this way. In the short time I've been here, I've been with the company for 3 years. I have seen more development than some of the other companies I've ever worked with. I mean, that's what we do. And we're committed to these type of projects. So what you will have a guarantee from me is if I get some word from people that we are going to do some things, I'm going to let you all know. And I'll try to share with you renderings and all that, but I don't have them now, but you have my guarantee. When I find out, I will share those with you.
Great. And I had told you that the person you need to talk to is Kelly Turner. She's right here.
Oh,
that's the lady you need to talk to.
okay, great.
She's the communications for Speedway and does a great job.
There are a lot of people here on the screen, so.
I'd be more than happy to share any messaging.
Great. No, we want to be, look, we're part of the community, and I'm not going anywhere, and this is what I like to do, and we want to be good stewards of the property, and want to be good partners and good neighbors. I mean, that's really the bottom line, and I'm not just saying that because I'm on a virtual meeting. That's how we want to be. So.
Hey, Jim. Vince Tablet.
Hi, Vince.
Hey, I've got a couple of questions in relationship to the traffic flow through the shopping center. You mentioned that you're going to have a couple traffic studies done in relationship to that. You know, Parkwood is, and the intersection between Cunningham, Parkwood is a private drive. You know, in other words, that's your responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever looked at, widening that? I mean, it's a major north-south thoroughfare through your shopping center. And it's always a bottleneck of people coming home, cutting through the shopping center, people leaving and the shopping center trying to get out. So I don't know if you had any studies on that recently or.
Vince, no, we haven't had any recently that I'm aware of anyhow. Maybe we had some 2 or 3 years ago before I got here. I'm not aware of any, but again, based on what we were talking about earlier, I think that'd be worthwhile to look into that. Have not thought about, I have to be honest, I have not thought about widening it.
Yeah.
Certainly doesn't mean that's not a good idea.
Well, we were looking at different, I'm with the president of the town council, and there's, the traffic flow in and out of the shopping center is a total bottleneck. And people also, the individuals walking from the south side of the shopping center trying to cross Crawfordsville Road is a complete hazard.
Yep.
I agree with Frank. It's very difficult to get that. And I think if we put together a plan with the city of Indianapolis, since that road is controlled by Indianapolis, but we have a large input, and looking at alternate ways into the shopping center to help basically relieve that intersection there. It paid dividends because it would make it easier for people to come and go from there. The other thing is the speeding on Crawfordsville Road. That's our problem. We realize it, and it's very difficult. And so anytime that you have a lot of inlets coming in and out of your shopping center, it's an accident waiting to happen. So I really think that we need to support you in your efforts to make sure that we get people in and out off of Crawfordsville Road safely into your shopping center. So I'd offer our help and your input. We could work it out together as a team.
I would welcome that input. I would welcome your help. So any help you can provide would be fantastic. It's a common concern everybody has.
Right.
Us. So yeah, I'm all for it.
Thank you.
I have just a comment from Stephanie. Stephanie's asking if anybody's kind of tracking the takeaways from this. Kelly, I don't know if this is a question for you. I don't know how to do it. I've never done it yet, but I am recording this neighborhood watch meeting. I don't know if there is a way to get this onto social media. Obviously, this is a public meeting, so we have no problem sharing all the contents of this meeting over our social media channels if we're able to figure that out.
We can work on that.
Okay.
And I might add, I'm Beth Isola. I'm Director of Property Management for Brixmor. Hello, everybody. I'm taking notes on all of this so that Jim can concentrate on answering your questions, so that we have our follow-up notes from this meeting as well. So I just wanted to let you know that. And the great comments and great suggestions, and we're very grateful for them.
Okay, any other questions? We're probably gonna, if we do have any more questions, probably gonna give them about 5 more minutes, and then we'll get into some additional Q&A with myself and Captain Alexander about any other issues that we may want to discuss tonight. Any other questions?
Jason, this is Gary Rakes, and I'd like to say hello to James, Beth, and others from Brixmor. I'm Vice President of the Council and partner in crime with Vincent Hublett, who just spoke a moment ago. Just for your information, last month we had a conference call with Bill Brown, your EVP of Redevelopment. And so we know that there's interest in continuing to invest in your property. So some of the things that James talked about, and in terms of not just sprucing up the property, but actually continuing to make additional investment is certainly something you want to do. We know that dollars from COVID didn't necessarily equate to dollars in 2021, but we're certainly, Vince and I had a very specific call and looked to meet with Bill when he comes into town next to talk about significant investments. So that's not necessarily the same as operational dollars. And for those maybe on the call that don't understand that, you're charged with upkeep of the property and maintaining the property and those types of things. And when there's additional investment in the tune of millions of dollars, that's not necessarily coming from your department. So just trying to be fair to you, we are having those conversations, and we certainly cherish and want that investment.
It's a good deal, but at the same time, it's really important that our people like Bill Brown hear exactly what your needs, what your concerns are, as well as what you'd like to see at the center. So, and that's my job to make sure that they know that. So, thank you.
Anyone else have any questions or comments for the Brixmor group before we move on to other things? Okay, Jim, I appreciate you and your group's time. I'm sure you'll have some further comment later on through email and through phone conversations. We appreciate you being a part of this. I think this was good. Again, typically these types of meetings, we have very few participants in. I know this has been a topic that a lot of people have been discussing in town with your property in general, and just some of the other things that we've been dealing with as a police department over the course of the last couple of months. But I think it's great that I think at our highest we had 60 participants on here tonight. We're at 50 right now, which I think is still great. Hopefully we can kind of keep this kind of participation in the future when we have these types of meetings. And obviously you folks are welcome to be involved in any of these in the future as well. But
that's great. Thank you again.
Thank you for having us.
Pleasure talking to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, we're going to kind of switch gears, kind of just moving on to the town in general. Thanks again to the Brixmor folks. You're welcome to sign off or hang out in here for the next 30 minutes or so. Feel free to do that as well. But does anybody else have any particular things in Speedway that they want to talk about with myself or Captain Alexander?
I had a question. Again, on the Speedway, I'm all over the place with the Speedway Facebook, and I try to dabble in everything. But something that's a reoccurring comment or I guess question is there a possibility for us to get cameras at some of these intersections to get people who are running lights? It's getting it's dangerous and there's a lot of accidents, and now I got a 16-year-old driving and it scares me even more.
Right. So I don't know, Heather, if you're aware of it. We've got 9 traffic cameras in town now. All of those traffic cameras were funded through federal grant funding since 2010. I think the first investment was putting 6 of those traffic cameras in, and then we added an additional 3 about 2 years into that program. Obviously, you know, it's like the cameras that someone brought up about the Kroger parking lot. Any type of camera is only as good as the information that you can get from that. So, you know, when you're talking about deterrence, they're great for deterrence most of the time. Obviously, if you look at our traffic cameras, they all have a blue flashing light. So there's your deterrent, trying to grab the attention of criminals or traffic violators or things like that. But at the same time, it's about quality. So if you're talking about cameras that you want to read license plates off of, or even if you're going into talking about red light cameras and things of that nature, obviously there's a lot more expense in those types of things. Data is a big expense. That's where we run into issues, especially with those traffic cameras. But obviously we'd love to have as many of those in town as we can. Vince and Gary, I don't want to throw you under the bus, but I know you're on here, and you know, that's obviously it's an investment, and we have to look at those kinds of things. The data collection is expensive. Right now we're running those cameras off of basically Xfinity feeds through the cable service. So there's expense there for all of those locations. So you really got to look at that, and then your return on investment of what are you looking to get out of that. And when we put those cameras in, again, it was more of a deterrence thing than solving crime or things of that nature, just because those types of cameras a lot of times aren't the quality that you would like them to be. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. I was hoping that from the tickets that we're giving people for running these red lights and whatnot, that maybe that would help pay for all of the technology and the upgrades that would be needed.
Yeah, and that's, you know, talking about the red light cameras, I'm not completely even sure. Mary Ann, again, I see you on here. Do you know anything about the red light camera laws in Indiana and how those even work? There she is.
I'm sorry. No, I do not specifically have a good answer for you there. And I don't even know what's the charge on a ticket like that.
Well, I think basically, you know, obviously there's, you know, if you go down to the Indiana-Kentucky border, there's a lot of cameras down there that are in operation. So most times it has to do with either a speed violation, or a lot of municipalities in different states put them up at intersections and send tickets for disregarding stop signs. Obviously, there's a lot more infrastructure involved in this than just putting up cameras and collecting that data. But I guess I'm not even really familiar with what our red light laws are in Indiana. Heather, I can look into that more. I can give you my my office telephone number and have you leave your contact information with me after this is over, and I can look into that for you.
Thank you.
Actually, I'll just go ahead and type that into the chat here, what my office number is, Heather.
Hi, this is Terry Snyder. I'd like to jump in here and just ask a question about that intersection at Lyndhurst and Crawfordsville Road. There there are turn arrows, I believe, going north and south, but not east and west. What's the possibility of having that taken care of, added, just because of the number of accidents there? And also, what is the possibility of doing another roundabout there?
I can comment on a little bit of that first question. Over the course of the years, there's been different traffic studies done. Obviously, that intersection is a city of Indianapolis thoroughfare. So any decisions on that intersection is made by the city of Indianapolis and handled by the Department of Public Works. And I know that particular intersection has been looked at in the past of, different type of lighting and things of that nature. But, I think that's obviously suggestions, not necessarily made to the police, but probably made to our town council or the city of Indianapolis of what your concerns are. And I mean, quite frankly, I don't know if, you mentioned a roundabout. I don't know if things like that have been looked into, but, obviously there's things that we see out there. Actually, funny thing is, when you started to talk about that, I kind of had one of those aha moments myself and was sitting at that very light that you're talking about, was eastbound the other day. And so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right. And now that the city offices and the police department, I believe, you're going to be right there at the corner, it's going to create more traffic in and out. And as Vince said, I know you have some influence with the town, not necessarily the police. And so I'm just throwing some thoughts out, because I cringe every time I go through there. With people running the lights going east and west and the speeding. So yeah, at least maybe could we get something like the little marquee sign that you can put out that tracks the speed, like you had on Lyndhurst?
Yeah, and I'll let Captain Alexander speak to this a little bit too. And I know he actually had a meeting with a concerned resident this afternoon of that very intersection and speeding and some other issues there. So we're aware of that. We're aware of other areas in town as well. So the answer is yes, we can do things like putting our radar trailers out that you're talking about. We've got some other equipment that can be used to track certain areas to try to determine what kind of problems we have in different places in town. So yeah, we're sensitive to that. Obviously, a lot of times there's more places than not that we're trying to not only deal with the day-to-day activities of our police department and being reactive to different incidents and things like that we're responding to, but we've also got to put that proactive element in as well and address these issues in town as they come in. And again, we would always welcome you. If you've got complaints like that, we want to hear from you and try to do the best we can to try to help eliminate some of those problems. Sam, do you want to?
Yes, and also if Captain Deerdorf will put my office phone number up there. I filled a lot of the traffic complaints and definitely want to know where we have issues and always addressing that. I have 3 different shift lieutenants that I meet with on a regular basis as far as any issues that we have. As Captain Deerdorf said, I'm lieutenant on second shift, and myself just met with a resident that resides on Lyndhurst, and we looked at some data, some citations that's been issued, addressing those problems. We actually, since the 14th, have issued, I think it was a total of 51 citations, and that was on Lyndhurst. So we're doing, after listening to the residents as far as when things are actually transpiring. So in other words, hey, we're noticing high speeds, say between 4 p.m. and 6 p.m., the direction. So we're trying to get as much information as we can so that we can actually have officers addressing it right when it's happening. I get a lot of calls when people tell me, well, this is happening all day long. And, you know, it's impossible to have officers stage a certain area, you know, for all day long. But obviously, if we can pinpoint when these are occurring, it makes it easier for us to address. We also do things like, as Captain Deardor says, we have a couple of radar trailers that we'll set out on location. Sometimes it's impossible to have a location to set those out. And a perfect case in point is between 16th Street and Crawfordsville Road, as far as having an area, unless somebody allows us to set it in their yard. And those do slow traffic down for a period of time, but after a while, it seems like after about 4 or 5 days, what we run into is that people are used to it being there, and then the speeding is picked up again. But and some of the things we're trying is actually have those trailers out there. Then once we move them, because they have to be charged after about 5 days, is actually working with the residents, placing a police car out there. And when people see the red and blue lights, this time it isn't a trailer, it's an actual officer with a radar gun. And, you know, we've been pretty successful with that. But the problem that we run into is that, you know, we have speeding complaints, say, on Cunningham and Crawfordsville, Lyndhurst, High School Road. So we're constantly, it's kind of like a merry-go-round, if you will, as far as trying to attack each location as much as we can. And it's like we get it slowed down in one area, so then we move to another area where we're getting the complaints and really try to put that focus on there. But again, like I said, just since the 14th, we issued, I think it was 51 citations. So we're actively out there, but we obviously have a lot of traffic. And one of the things that we see, I would say it's a very, very low percentage of our residents that's actually committing these violations. It's people outside of Speedway. And as you know, we have a lot of people that pass through Speedway, and it's just an ongoing problem. But again, feel free to call me if you have a specific location that's an issue, and we'll work together, we'll address it. And the lady that I met with tonight, she left very, very satisfied and on the things that we could do. She's even allowing us to park in her driveway because in her area, again, it's kind of hard place to set back a little bit and be off the road and actually be able to view both directions. So anytime that you have a concern or you want to meet, always happy to do that, because we want to do everything we can to make the residents of Speedway safe. And
right. I think that a lot of people can pick up speed because there's only that one horrible light up there at the shopping center that's so congested and such a mess. That's another one that I just throw through today, and yeah, just hold my breath and hope somebody doesn't try to run the light. But I think, you know, with your being right there on the corner, you certainly have the town of Speedway offices to actually put up one of those marquee, what did you call them again? I can't remember, but
our radar is what you're referring
yeah,
to.
I actually, that stops me when I see them, because it's not that I'm speeding on purpose. I just happened to look down at my speedometer and I'm like, oh gosh, you know, I was going faster than I thought. So, I mean, it works for me and I'm cautious. So I don't know. I just really think it's necessary. It's just another place that, you know, a really bad accident's going to happen again. So I appreciate your attention. And I know there's a lot of problem areas, and yes, there are a lot of people that travel through, but you know, it used to be a long time ago when I first moved here that people would not want to cut through Speedway because they got stopped for speeding. So it just, you know, anymore, you just don't see people pulled over. So I know you have your hands full. I just appreciate your consideration, and thank you for letting me talk. And I will get in touch with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to follow up on your question about that traffic light, I'll mention that to, or one of us will mention that to Rob Wetnight, who's in charge of our street department. I know that they are involved a lot of times in conversations with City of Indianapolis that we're not privy to. There may very well be plans in the near future or in the distant future to do something different with that light or other things. I know there's been conversation in past years about different roundabouts in town and things of that nature. Not sure if any of that has ever taken off or what the planning is. Usually when we start planning those things, they're 3 to 5 years out, but I'll definitely mention your concerns to Rob at the street department.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Somebody mentioned speeding in the neighborhoods. Obviously, yes, we're aware of that. I think Speedway Drive was mentioned. That's one of those areas that we do focus attention on, that we do get complaints on. So yes, we're aware of that. Again, anytime that you're seeing significant issues, don't hesitate to call Captain Alexander, and we'll pick up patrols in those areas. We'll add radar trailers when we can. We have 2 of those that are available. We try to focus those a lot in school zones during the spring when it gets warmer, obviously. And but as we get traffic complaints, we adjust those as well. I know, Frank, you mentioned that I think you mentioned some more presence around the Hawk system. I think now more than ever, I notice it when I come in. Obviously, I'm not involved with it a whole lot anymore because I'm over the investigators, but our guys every morning, I always see them out in our school zones. I know a lot of times there's one at 18th and Cunningham. Our school resource officer spends a lot of time at the different schools. He responds to issues that he's aware of with traffic and parents in line and things of that nature. I see a car pretty frequently on Lyndhurst Drive. So again, we're, obviously we'd love to be every place we possibly can all the time, but it's a balance too, right? That we've got to, put between the reactive and proactive side of this job that we're trying to perform. But again, we can't do that without you guys as well as residents. If you see specific issues that maybe we haven't seen or haven't been aware of yet, please call us so we can pay some special attention to those types of things.
One other thing I'd like to add as well that we've been successful at is actually acquiring moving radars. So, in the years past, we used to have to be stopped in order to radar someone, but now we've actually been able to acquire quite a few moving radars. So it really assists us in dealing with the traffic, because now we can be driving down, say, Lyndhurst or Crawfordsville, have a car coming the opposite way and actually be able to clock them and act on that violation. Or even if we have somebody coming up behind us, we also now have rear radar. So those things are a huge assist as far as enforcing traffic. And the other thing that we've also been able to do that is add that to our motorcycles, which you'll see that out a lot now as the weather is actually getting nicer. And plus motorcycles, we can actually get those into areas and actually place them to where we can actually enforce traffic even better than sometimes when we can't get a car in that area or actually a safe place to park. So you'll be seeing the motorcycles out quite a bit as well. But like I said, we've been successful. The town's been great as far as helping us to acquire the equipment that we need. And so, like I said, we're working very hard on enforcing the traffic and making it safer for everybody in Speedway.
Diane, you mentioned that the turn lane from Crawfordsville Road west into the get-go needs to get a longer green arrow. Captain Alexander, I'm sure, will be happy to either do it himself or have one of his lieutenants go down there and just take a look at that and see if we do see some sort of an issue. Again, that's a thoroughfare that's, I don't know if that particular light, I think that's still DPW. There's kind of a fine line right in that area of whether that's NDOT or DPW, City of Indianapolis DPW, that handles a certain part of that intersection. But we'll take a look at that and see if there's cause for concern that we need to reach out to them and have them look at the timing of that light. I know the one at 25th Street has probably changed that intersection a little bit too. I'm sure that those are somehow timed in unison with one another, but we'll definitely take a look at that and put that on the list of items to look into for you. Somebody mentioned on here, put a trailer and our car in my driveway, 10th Street near Mug and Bun. Again, call Captain Alexander, his phone number's on there. We love finding those places that we can sit and run traffic from. Obviously, those radar trailers are sometimes difficult to get in those areas, like 10th Street. That's a major thoroughfare. We can't set it out on the road necessarily and tie up a traffic lane. It's hard to always find a place off of a sidewalk where we don't impede pedestrian traffic, but you know, we'd love to hear from you after this conversation. Michelle Leidy, you're welcome. Hey, Laura and Brian, concerned about weapons being fired through the night. Personally found 2 bullets while walking your dogs over near the track. Neighbor's gutter has a bullet hole in it last summer. Yeah, so your concern is our concern. You know, obviously, if you watch the news, you know, it seems like gun violence especially has become more of a problem, not only, you know, in central Indiana, but all over the country. So it's a concern for us as well. A lot of those gun firing complaints that we get in the middle of the night, which we do receive them, we respond to them. I wouldn't say frequently, but we do have different runs throughout the month that we respond to. Some may occur in Speedway. The vast majority of them are probably coming from right outside of Speedway, but obviously you can control where you point that gun in the air, but you can't control where that bullet comes down. So, you know, obviously if you're seeing things like that out walking, I think you said walking your dog, you know, that could have been something several blocks or a half mile or more away, just depending on the trajectory of that bullet and how it comes down. So yeah, we're sensitive to that as well. We understand it's a problem. You know, obviously there's not a lot that we can do to prevent those types of things other than more proactive patrol. But yeah, we're aware of it. You know, Frank, you mentioned again about the cameras and setting aside a budget. You know, again, we love cameras. We've got a lot of cameras, you know, not only at our facilities, but at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and our traffic cameras. So yeah, we're all for cameras. Obviously, it's puts a dent in budget sometimes just because the expense. You know, I mentioned it's not only the equipment expense, because that's gotten cheaper over the years, but you know, it's also the issue of data and how you're sending those camera feeds to different places. You know, I can give you the example of when we first got the grant funding for our traffic cameras. We did that as an all wireless system, not only as a cost savings because we didn't have a monthly fee to deal with, but just because we felt like that was a better option moving forward. Now that's been 2010, so you're talking 11 years ago, and you know, at that time, that's kind of where we thought technology was going, and the right choice. And it took us, you know, 2 or 3 years into that program when we added the additional cameras, and we reverted back to a hardwired system for those 9 cameras. You know, obviously we have a more expensive system now because we're having to pay for that through our budget, but we have better feed to those cameras because obviously wireless always isn't 100%. Weather affects it. The Indianapolis Motor Speedway was gracious enough to be involved with that project and allow us to to have some equipment on top of the pagoda for those cameras to talk to one another. But yeah, if obviously down the road, if that's available to us and we can add more cameras to that system or other areas of town, then you know, we agree. We like having cameras.
Yeah, just a additional comment on that. You know, you're building a new thoroughfare into our town from Wayne Township, Farley Edition, and all the apartments on High School Road out there flowing now into our community. So I think it's a good location for consideration as we build that bridge.
Yeah, absolutely. Ben is asking if Speedway Police Department's planning on placing their name on the police department building. Yes, my understanding is there is some exterior signage that's going to go up on the building soon. I don't know what the timeline is on that. I know this week you'll see our lots being milled. I think that's supposed to start tomorrow. It was supposed to start today, and then repaved and striped probably by the end of the week. But I know there's plans, that canopy that's on the north side of the building over the new, what would be the entry for the town hall side and the clerk treasurer, that's going to have signage on that front of that canopy, as well as on the west end of that canopy, there will be some signage identifying the police department there. And then I believe there's some lighted signage that's also going up on the south and east corners of this facility. You know, I'm not really sure what exactly that looks like, but I think it's going to have, you know, Speedway Municipal Center, and you know, whether it has a town logo or not. But yes, there's some signage, so stay tuned on that.
The signage on the south side will be lit up. You'll have a big sign on the corner that says Speedway Municipal Center, and then a Town of Speedway sign down on the other end. They will be lit up, so even at night you'll be able to see what the building is, and then some entryway signs over on the north side. So there is some signage going up. We could have some more discussions about police specific signage in the future.
Next question. Can't read the name, but since the entrance to the old bank is closed, maybe the line should be redone on Lyndhurst. I know exactly where you're talking about there. I think you're talking about, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're talking about southbound Lyndhurst on the north side of the intersection, where that street used to come through. And yeah, that's another thing that we actually wanted to get with Rob about. I know that we took away that signage after that street was closed off and the new sidewalk was put in. There was a sign there that said "Stop here," which doesn't exist anymore. So yeah, we do need to look into restriping that because people are still stopping there where that sign was at. So we'll add that to our Rob Wetnight and DPW list to look into. As far as the homicide that occurred at Kentucky Fried Chicken, the parking lot, no, it's not. I think it's been about 4 to 6 weeks ago. Sorry, I've lost track of time with this move over the last couple of weeks, but yeah, we're investigating that. As I said earlier in this conversation, there's been a couple of violent incidents that have happened up in that shopping center. We've got some leads on some of those. I can't really obviously get into any of that because it's an ongoing investigation, but we do have some things that we're looking into with regards to that particular incident, as well as the others that have happened up there recently. Will we be starting up another Citizens Police Academy class? It's a good question. Don't really have an answer to that. I know we kind of put that off in 2019, it seemed like, because we just didn't have the participant levels that we wanted for one of those classes. Obviously, COVID put a kibosh to that too last year, so we didn't have one. So I will definitely follow up with the chief and Sarah Edie, who is in charge of that program, to see if there's any plans for that in the future. Will there be new spaces for Craigslist transactions? I'm assuming you mean at the police department. The answer is yes. I've already talked to Rob Wetnight at the street department, and once they get everything striped out here, I need to get with him as well as Tim Gropp and some others here to find out what the best place for those areas to move those signages over. So you all in town, or anybody for that matter, can use those for e-commerce transactions. But yeah, that's already in the works. Have we considered drones as a police presence deterrence? Thinking forward to crowds back at the track. Yes, we have. Yes, we currently have 2 drones. We've used those at the track, not last year because obviously we had no fans, but in 2019, I think late 2018, early 2019 is when we started our unmanned aerial systems program. We've got five or six people, I think, that are trained as drone pilots on the department. They went through training with great guy from IMPD, Ron Shelnut. He's in charge of their program. You may have seen some of his videos on social media that he does with officers that are killed in the line of duty. He does some really great work with those videos that he provides to families. But yeah, we definitely use those during race events. We used them a lot that first year, the night before the race, as well as for traffic. It helped us out in a couple of different areas with traffic because we didn't have cameras either at the track or our traffic cameras that would help us out. And just so happens at different times that you have brief times where helicopters are refueling and things of that nature, that those come in handy. Not only that, we've used it on missing persons that we've looked for out here. We've tracked suspects before that we've been searching for on various crimes. So yeah, we try to use those as much as we possibly can. Hazardous traffic, Parkwood and Meadowood Park.
Hi, that was me. This is,
yeah,
sorry, I just got disconnected there for a while. So if you hollered at me already, I apologize for that.
No, you're good.
So I literally live right on the park at Parkwood and Meadowood and spend quite a bit of time outside on the porch. And there is significant speeding and then other just hazardous traffic in the area where cars are bypassing people, turning into their driveways and turning into their line of traffic, that sort of thing. But the speeding part is pretty significant. It's extreme and it's on the park. So I'm even more concerned about kids and bicycles and dogs and all that sort of thing. Even my own kid. But I think part of the problem with some of the increased speed over the last couple years, maybe 3 years, the speed limit signage has changed all around Meadowood Park. When I've lived here about 15 years, and it used to be there were just simple speed limit signs for all times of day for 25 miles per hour was the limit around the park and the school. There's the school right there. But then the new school zone signs were put up, these great big monstrous reflective yellow band school zone 25 mile per hour during school hours signs went up. And I think they imply that the speed limit is higher in non-school hours. And unless there was a change that I just didn't catch, the speed limit is still 25 through here, even outside of school hours. So I wonder if that signage change through the neighborhood has impacted the increase in the speeding.
Yeah, we'll look into that because I know there's park speeding zones designated in the municipal code. We're not aware of any changes to that, but we'll take a look at that and see if that was an oversight or not of whether those signs were pulled. If that's the case, then yeah, we'll probably need to look into putting permanent signage back in. Otherwise, you know, people,
Yeah, there are
people go with the urban speed limit of 30 miles an hour then,
plus.
if it's unposted. So
Yeah, it's definitely not posted at 25 at all times. That those signs are gone.
okay. Yep. We'll, I'm getting quite the list for laundry list for Rob Wet Night. So we'll, he's going to love me for it. We'll add that to the list. Okay, let me get on down to, I'm falling behind. I think we got Elizabeth. I have no idea if there's plans for the old SPD building. I know the fire department is growing a little bit into that. Obviously, they've got some of the same issues that we've had with space in their offices. So I know they're expanding a little bit into that area, but I can't tell you long term what's going to happen with that facility over time. Anybody else? I think I got through trying to catch up on all this chat questions. Anybody else have any other questions, concerns? I think everybody kind of likes this platform, so we'll hopefully continue this in the future and try to run something like this concurrent to our in-person meetings. I know it's sometimes easier for people to jump on their cell phone or home computer rather than taking the time to go sit somewhere for a couple of hours. So when we roll around to our June meeting, we'll try to, you know, as long as we're still on the right trajectory with COVID and can have that in person, we'll make every effort to try to make this part of our future meetings. Anyone? Last call. Yep.
This is Captain Alexander. Again, if you have any speeding issues, traffic issues, Captain Deerdorf's put my phone number on there. Don't hesitate to call me. We'll definitely look into it. Again, if you have a driveway also in the area, some places, again, like I said, it's hard to set at or put a radar trailer, but if you'll call me, I promise you we will react to it and we'll do everything we can to rectify the problem, and we appreciate your time.
Hey, thanks for spending, well, right at about 2 hours. Thanks for spending this time. You know, I think we covered a lot of good things. I see Jim Childress still on there. Thanks, Jim, for staying around. I don't know who all stayed on, but, you know, we appreciate that and appreciate you hanging out with us and your dedication to the town and that property.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys. We're going to sign off for now. Appreciate it.